I worked night shift at a group home for disabled adults. It was a pretty chill job. Generally, I showed up for work at 9 p.m., finished up some household chores, did the dishes, swept and mopped the floors, took out the trash, folded some laundry, stuff like that, and then watched TV with one of the clients until he was ready for bed. After I helped the aforementioned client into bed, I slept on the couch until about 7 a.m. when it was time to get them up, give them their meds, and make them breakfast. Then I was done at 9 a.m. and had the day to myself. It would have been the perfect job if one of the clients didn't hate me. I guess I looked like a relative that abused him or something, but he was an alcoholic and usually passed out drunk by the time I got there and wasn't a morning person for the same reason, so I didn't really have to deal with him much. Then one night was a perfect storm of events. The alcoholic client was still up when I arrived for my shift, which was a bit of a bummer since he swore at me and called me names, but I helped him make a snack and he went to bed after eating. The next thing I know, there are EMTs knocking on the door. The client had called them because he was in pain. The EMTs assessed him and stated that they didn't see a reason to bring him to the hospital since the pain was caused by a chronic condition, but he demanded to be taken anyway, so they loaded him up into the ambulance and went. I couldn't go with him because I was working alone and had two other, much less independent clients to look after. The managers that were normally on call were away at a conference, so I called my immediate supervisor, who was acting on call, to inform her of what happened. My supervisor's husband was at work and she was home alone with her young children, so she couldn't go to the hospital. She didn't want to call someone in either, so the plan was that the client would have to stay at the hospital overnight and she would pick him up in the morning. It wasn't an emergency, so the nurses at our small town hospital probably wouldn't call in the doctor and the client likely wouldn't be seen until the doctor came in to do rounds at about 4 to 5 a.m., so it should have been fine. About an hour later, I got a call from the ER nurses with an ultimatum. Come pick up the client right now or they're calling the cops because he is causing a disturbance. Awesome. I got the client on the phone and explained that I was trying to find him a way home, but he had to calm down in the meantime. I told the nurses I would call them back as soon as I figured something out. I called every taxi in the phone book, but of course none of them were running since it was a weeknight and the bars had already closed for the night. I was weighing getting into my car and picking him up myself since the other clients were in bed and I would only be gone like 20 minutes tops when I had an epiphany. Some kid was trying to start his own Uber knockoff in my town. I got the kid on the phone and he agreed to pick up the client from the hospital. He demanded an absurd amount of money for the service, but whatever, I was desperate. I called the nurses at the hospital and explained the updated plan, but the client had calmed down since their last call and they were waiting on some tests to come back. Fucking awesome, girls, thanks for letting me know, great fucking teamwork. The nurses assured me they'd be quick and the kid agreed to wait at the hospital until the client was done, so crisis averted, I guess. Then I had to figure out how to pay the kid for picking up the client. The client had no money and of fucking course, the petty/emergency cash box was empty. All I had on me was my debit card and there was no way this kid had a debit machine on him. So I did the best thing I could think of. I borrowed the money from another client and when my replacement came in the next morning, I went straight to the bank, withdrew the same amount of money I had borrowed, and paid back the other client immediately. Was it against the rules? Yup. But what other choice did I have besides letting a client get dragged off to the drunk tank on my watch? Shift from hell over, right? Nope. A month later, I got called into a manager's office and written up for borrowing money from the other client. Honestly, I was probably fine with the write-up since I did break the rules, but what really pissed me off was the insinuation that I stole from the client I borrowed the money from and that the company was doing me a big favor by not firing me. The company, the managers, my supervisor, no one would accept any responsibility for the situation they put me in. They just said I handled the situation wrong, and when I asked how I should have handled it, they said, not like that. So I gave my notice. Fuck 'em all.